I had this buddy who was quite a bit on like the slower side of things. And it was funny because it would actually benefit him in regards to like business. And it's funny because he was one of those people who couldn't really conceptualize an entire business from just the forefront of things. Like if you ask me, you give me any business model in the entire world and I can literally think of every single step that needs to go into the business model in order to make it successful. It doesn't matter if it's like lawn mowing, for an example. Lawn mowing, I mean, literally, you can break down lawn mowing. You can say, okay, break down the core components of lawn mowing. What is it that I need to do? And who is it that I need to serve? So we say, for one, I'm going to be mowing lawns. And then for two, I'm going to be doing this for people who have HOA regulations and I need to mow their lawn for them, make their life easy. And so all I need to do is one, get a lawnmower, and two, I need to get a client base. And so there's a lot of ways that I can get a client base. I could do some kind of digital marketing. I could do flyers. I could do door-to-door sales. And I think a big one for me would be door-to-door sales, hiring one of my friends, giving them $250 a day to go and knock on 1,000 doors a day, or just creating flyers and then paying him a little bit of money to go and just hang up these flyers all over the city, talking hundreds and hundreds of doors every single day. And you're going to start to develop a client base. And then there are certain things that you can add to increase your like AOV, right? Your average order value or your LTV in and of itself. And so you can have like your lawn mowing, which is like your core offer. And then you can offer garden upkeep. You can offer trimmings around the side. You can offer feeding the flowers, feeding the grass. Like there's a lot of things that you can add by extension that can increase your average order value or your LTV. So it's just immediate executable items. And what a lot of people have, this like general issue, is like they look at a business and they think, okay, well, I don't know which lawnmower is the best. Should I get one that drives? Because that'll be easier for me. It's like, well, I can't afford one that drives, so I guess I may as well just not do this business at all yet, and I'll wait until I can actually afford it. Or I just don't know how to use a lawnmower, and I don't know where to buy one. They start overthinking this, and there's so many different brands. Which brand should I get? And this is like analysis paralysis, right? A lot of people get this. And my buddy, on the other hand, he was somebody who couldn't even conceptualize a business to begin with. Like you say internally, mentally, and then speak it out to existence, build me an entire software company, and he couldn't do it because it was on the slower side of like things in general, right? And this worked in his favor because he was somebody that you essentially tell him what to do and he'll just sit and do it. He doesn't know the alternative. He doesn't understand that there are A/B tests in and of itself that could cause different reactions. So he literally just sits down and he just does the thing, and he doesn't overthink because he can't think of the things to overthink about. It's such a weird dynamic that I hadn't realized. And what I had done with myself is I had realized that I was not necessarily analysis paralysis, but I like to overemphasize a lot of things in my department. So like data analytics tracking, building out dashboards and the ability to oversee your company through specific KPIs and metrics, or like small things like SEO optimization, or like one of the things that I put a little too much time into. I spent about like 10 or 15 hours trying to get my website to load faster than 2 seconds, because if you didn't know, you lose about 70% of your client base or people that click on your website from cold traffic if your website loads under 2 seconds or longer than 2 or 3 seconds. And then you have 70% more time is spent on your website for websites that load faster than 2 or 3 seconds, whatever. And so I'd spent like 12 or 13 hours just sitting here and trying to make my website as fast as possible. And so I get in these like really weird things. I don't know if it's because I have like ADHD or some kind of like Asperger's or something, where I just chronically fixate on little minor things inside of my business or what it is. But I find myself very grateful to have experienced somebody who doesn't fixate on anything and instead just does the thing that needs to happen, because he was wildly successful. Well, maybe not wildly successful, but he was successful by extension of it. And I kind of want to talk about like why perfectionism just doesn't necessarily work. For one, it ruins the possibility for the impossibility to happen. And what I mean by that is when you create things in the idea that you think that they need to be created in order for them to be successful, you lose out on the fact that anything else can happen because you create it in this very specific way. Okay, so let me give you an example. If I am doing some kind of agency model in which I am telling myself I will only work with people who do not have a brand, and I will never work with somebody who does have a brand, because I'm trying to be a perfectionist at scaling their brand through Facebook ads. And I fixate on the fact that that is the way that I'm going to run this business, and I'm going to do it to absolute perfection, okay? The issue with that is quite frankly, that's not how business works. And you're going to have these really random instances in your life where you need to make a hard pivot for the betterment of your company. So when we first started one of our agencies, for an example, we were initially going to do salary-based digital product launches, where essentially we pay somebody a salary and then we launch their digital products for them and we market them and we get all this money. And we're like, okay, we're gonna be completely perfect at this and we're gonna completely ostracize the idea of anything else interfering with us. And the problem with that is we had bigger clients reaching out to us that wanted to work with us, and we ended up taking up some of these offers and making a lot more money from those offers that we were doing, and even on our personal side of things. And anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is there are so many things that can happen inside of your business that if you're trying to be a perfectionist at one certain thing, you're gonna miss out on the opportunities that are out there that will happen if you're not perfect and you're just doing things. Because at the end of the day, just doing things is going to be wildly more profound in results than trying to do things in a certain way. Because quite frankly, let's say I want to start a business and I know nothing about a lawn mowing business. And so I do it this very specific way. I do it this very, very, very precise way that I think is perfect. But then there's a multi-$100 million a year lawn mowing company that's like, hey, you're doing this completely wrong. My mind thinks perfect based off of the circumstances, my environment, my wisdom, my knowledge, my skill set. That's how I developed my idea of perfectionism. My idea of perfect is going to be chronically different than the idea of perfectionism from somebody else. And if there's somebody who's wildly more successful than me, then I'm just going to be, quite frankly, I'm just going to be wrong, right? And so you ostracize any kind of outside constructive criticism because you're trying to develop what you think is perfect. But just because you think it's perfect doesn't necessarily mean it is perfect. You just think it's perfect because you don't know any other alternative. Now, the next one is like true perfectionism can never be achieved. What you need to understand is business in and of itself is a difficult and ever-changing thing. What works today is not going to work tomorrow. And it's a sad, harsh truth that you just have to understand. There were a lot of times that we had spent developing SOPs for a very specific project, and we would put upwards of 72 hours of true work time into these SOPs just for a couple weeks to go by, and then something get patched, and now these SOPs don't work anymore. So I spent so much time perfecting this SOP just for the business, because that's how business is. Business change. Businesses evolve. And if you want to be successful, you need to adapt to the changes. You need to adapt to the shifts in the market. And with that being how business is, you can never really achieve perfectionism. So you're almost constantly striving for this perfect thing that you can never really achieve. You can never really get to that point because it's just not possible because of how much business shifts, and constantly trying to be perfect in something that you can't ever really be perfect at. Not only is it going to be wildly unfulfilling, but it's also going to be damaging to your business because you need to be able to learn, adapt, and shift. And kind of brings to like the next point. It's like your idea of perfectionism is going to be different than your customer's idea of perfectionism. And so what are we going to base a level of success on? Based on your idea of perfectionism or the idea of the customer's perfectionism? And this is a big one because a lot of people don't put enough time and effort into the customer's experience. And the customer's experience is absolutely and utterly everything. And without a good customer experience, quite frankly, you don't have a business because you're going to get bad reviews, which makes your marketing even more difficult to do unless you somehow overcome that by creating bonuses or some kind of adaptations inside of your business that almost counteract those certain things. It makes business in and of itself a lot more difficult. And so the idea of perfectionism in your mind, like I said, is going to be different than the idea of perfectionism in somebody else's mind. And in order for you to truly achieve this perfectionism, you would need to account for every single customer that you have. You're never going to be able to do that. And the big thing in whole, it doesn't work. Perfectionism doesn't work. Okay, you're going to develop an analysis paralysis where your brain becomes compromised of the things that are actually important, or it's going to be compromised with the things that aren't important when it really needs to be focusing on the things that are important. That's just doing stuff and doing more and more and more stuff. The more stuff that you can do, the faster you're going to grow, the faster your business is going to grow. In general, perfectionism just is not really the gateway to being successful. And I got to say that the person that I knew who was just a little bit on that slower side just showed me a new profound way of looking at business. And not trying to be perfect, but just constantly learning, innovating, and adapting is truly the way to be successful.